On today's show, the Pelicans fired David Griffin, but it wasn't justifiable, in my opinion. I'll tell you why, and we'll also talk about the Suns making some moves in today's Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night, tipping off now.
And welcome. You are Locked On NBA Game Night. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On NBA Game Night and daily your first and second listen. Today, joining me as always from the great Locked On Bucks. What'd you see in the NBA tonight, Camille?
Well, nothing. Ain't no games tonight, Nick.
We saw some people get fired today. No jobs. Taking the pink slip down to the HR department. We'll talk about the Suns getting rid of Mike Budenholzer. There are now no more Mikes coaching in the NBA. They all got fired this year. Mike Brown, Michael Malone, and all the Mikes are gone. We'll also talk about the play-in tournament between all these teams that are playing. Which play-in team has the best chance to win the next round? Which play-in team are you most excited to watch? But let's start here, Camille. The New Orleans Pelicans decided to fire David Griffin, the GM who set all this up, who got all these players, brought him in, building around Zion, all this stuff. Remember we were talking about him when the Pelicans won the lottery. And remember you saw the video of the Pelicans ticketing staff cheering and like with so much excitement, David Griffin was going to come and like build this whole contender in New Orleans, build around Zion Williamson, trying to figure out how to make that happen. He made a bunch of moves, and the Pelicans this season were third in the NBA in most wins above replacement games missed. Basketball Index has this way to add some value to games missed, so it's not just the amount of games missed, right? Zion missing games is not the same as like a Jordan Hawkins missing game or something like that. There's more value to a Zion missed game. And so the Pelicans, behind just the Mavericks and the Sixers, missed the most games of value in the NBA. They were so incredibly injured. We talked about them having a season from hell so much throughout the whole season. My thoughts and prayers go to Jake Madison, Locked On Pelicans, having to cover this team every single day. And now they go in and they fire their GM. He got a ton of talent. There's a lot of talent in there. You can talk about some moves that he messed up and things like that. But to me, just looking at it from the outside, I don't think it was justifiable to let go of David Griffin for the team he put together. Now, maybe you're like, hey, you got a bunch of injury-prone players, and that's what you did. Now, maybe that's what it is. But I think it's so hard to build around a Zion Williamson player and then to deal with the injuries that they did. To me, maybe they'll bring in somebody that's better. But to me, I thought David Griffin did an okay enough job with bringing in the talent that he did.
I would agree with that, especially what he's been able to do in the draft for this Pelicans team as well. Like covering the Bucks, a team that doesn't get many draft selections here, and you're normally not picking in the lottery. Like you saw that in New Orleans here, like being able to get Herb Jones, Jose Alvarado, Masai this year, Trey Murphy, like guys who you get outside of the lottery. Yeah, like you're able to find talent, and the drafting has been done well. But to your point about building around Zion, that's been the part that just hasn't happened because he's barely been able to play for the Pelicans. And when your best player can only play like 45% of available games, how do you truly build around that? And if that is the case, who's at fault when it doesn't work if your guys can't stay healthy together long enough to actually see what it looks like? Like we never this season got to see DeJounte Murray, Brandon Ingram, and Zion Williamson hit the floor together. We didn't see it.
Wow. Yeah, it was a group of talent that we never really saw put together and put it all together at all this whole season. And we did see it for a good amount of last year. They won 49 games. Yeah. Right. And I just think that to blame health on the GM in a way, right? Because that is what it seems. To blame health on the GM is a tough place to go. Now, going from 49 to 21, if you're an owner and you just look at that and say you won 49 games last year, you won 21 games this year, and the only thing you can point to is health, no, there's probably some other issues going on with that organization. But if you're ownership, would you have fired David Griffin?
Probably not. I think I would have been more inclined to fire the coach before I actually fired the GM here, because I think the pieces on the Pelicans have made sense. I think the pieces have been talented, they just have been healthy enough. But then again, like, I know Willie Green has been on the hot seat. Not easy for him either to be a coach put in a position of like, hey, I'm expecting to be able to coach this team with Zion as my centerpiece, especially how they use kind of like point Zion going forward. And when you don't have a piece as crucial as that, it can be really hard to build around. But I don't know. It's when your team is just injury prone in this way, do you just say like, hey, we just got to start out, like, did we start over? Because where do you go from here? Like, I don't see a pathway forward for the Pelicans where Zion isn't a part of it. But I guess not having that contract be fully guaranteed could be a way to facilitate that.
You said something interesting in there. You said the pieces made sense. I don't know that they did. I just think that he got enough talent. Like, I think that he acquired enough talent. He had a really tough thing trying to move on from Anthony Davis, and he made that trade. He got a lot of talent in that trade. The thing that I think the people have gone back to is that he hasn't moved on from the pieces when they needed to, like the Herb Jones, the Trey Murphy. They haven't moved on and tried to figure out what to do there. I don't think the DeJounte Murray thing has worked super well, but at least he took swings, and I think he was just faced with an impossible task. I think that's the thing. It's building around Zion, both as a talent and then as a player, and how many games he's going to play. Like you said, it's just a really hard thing to do. So now the Pelicans, where do they go from here? Well, Shams Charania reports that Joe Dumars is going to take over. Joe Dumars, if you remember, obviously was part of the Bad Boys Pistons and played next to Isaiah Thomas. He was part of the Pistons front office from 2000 to 2014, and he basically built the 2004 Pistons team that won the title right there. What do you think about going to Joe Dumars and bringing him in?
He has some local ties. Like, he's from Louisiana, so like he's a native to the area. I believe he's serving as an NBA role right now for the NBA itself, and it makes some sense. But again, you still have the same problem. So it's like, does Joe Dumars have a vision of where he can take this team going forward that ownerships believe is going to be more fruitful for the Pelicans going forward than what Griffin was able to do for them? Because to your point of saying like they had talent, but I don't know how well it fit. Is Dumars going to be able to do a better job of understanding like, hey, these are levers we need to pull? Because I can see the Pelicans fans who are looking over at Atlanta and seeing what Dyson Daniels is doing and being like, man, that seems like a piece that could have been really useful to have on this team, but he was somebody who was buried in the depth chart. But again, is that going to be helped by Joe Dumars, or is that something a head coach is going to have to kind of figure out as well? So when the new GM comes in, if it is Joe Dumars, I will be really curious to know if Willie Green continues to stay in that role, or if the new GM is like, I want my guy here. We're going to be paired together. We're going to continue to go forward from here.
That's usually what happens, right? You bring in a guy, and then all of a sudden he gets to pick the coach. And so that's why I think even Jake Madison has said on Locked On Pelicans, we'll see what happens with Willie Green. If the new GM decides to come in and choose their own guy, or if he's just a sitting duck and Joe Dumars gives him a year or so to try and figure it out. If you're Joe Dumars, though, and maybe it is him, maybe it's, well, Sham said that they are going to finalize a deal within the next week. And so I'll take that almost as gospel, saying he is going to be the next guy. What do you do first?
Ooh. Ooh. First, give me that injury report. Let me get a good look.
give me the long term.
Let me see it. Give me the
long term.
I need to see what you guys are even projecting going forward. But
I need the full written birth certificate. Like I need all of it. Going back to
I want medical
the long form
all the way back. I need to know. But honestly, I think the first thing you kind of have to do is just kind of start envisioning this team. You have to have a conversation with Zion as well, the star player of the franchise, kind of see what his vision of the team is, and see how, if it's in alignment with what I think of like, hey, this is how I think it should go from here. If I can see a sense of alignment, I might rock of like, let me see if I can build a roster around Zion that can make sense, and also have somebody on this team that can kind of step up if he is out. But again, the question is, how does that happen? If you get lucky in a lottery, maybe something happens there. Not a great chance to do it, but there's a chance that you can get a nice prospect this summer as well. So see how that looks, and maybe start calling around, seeing what the Zion market looks like. Just to know. That'll be one of the first things, just to know. After I get my injury report, I'm just calling them around just to see what people are talking about. Just to have an idea.
I'm moving Zion. You just gotta move on. And this is what Jake kind of said too. There's got to be just major changes made to this team. It just doesn't work. How many years have we tried with this Zion experiment, and it's worked a couple times, right? He was drafted in 2019, and so we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're 5 years into the Zion experiment.
What, 2 playoff runs?
Zion has not played in any playoff.
Well, he hasn't played, but the tein had 2 playoff runs during this
But that's the thing. I'm counting the Zion has played in no playoff runs. So like last year, does that even count? Because they went in and got swept and just didn't look like they had anything against the Thunder, which obviously, but yeah, I think I'm moving on because you gotta start clean. It's a new front office. You can make the case to the fans. All right, we've got to start fresh. You're done with this experiment. We're done with this experiment, and then try and move on from there because you've got some other pieces too. But they have some flexibility where you're going to get a top 10 pick, top 8 pick this year. You've got young talent in like a Trey Murphy and a Herb Jones that you can try and, well, Herb Jones or Trey Murphy's about the same age as Zion. So, but you've got some young talent like that where you can try and figure out, all right, how are we going to move forward with this? And we've got a little bit of a core. It's a tough one down in New Orleans. Go check out Locked On Pelicans for all kinds of great stuff. He knows the team better than everybody out there. So go listen to him. Coming up, the Suns. Whose fault was it that the Suns ended the season the way that they did? And how they finished the season was down bad. We'll talk about that and more coming up. Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by Hungry Root. There's too many things going on. There's too many NBA rumors to follow like this. There's too many games. The playoffs are coming up, and you want to stay eating healthy. You want to stay eating good food. You want to eat delicious meals, all that kind of stuff. Hungry Root is the way to go. It's like having your own personal shopper and nutritionist wrapped into one. They take care of grocery shopping and meal planning, offering personalized recommendations based on your taste and health goals. I love how Hungry Root can tailor orders based on what I like and what I didn't like. You can go through and say, hey, I didn't like this, I did like this, and you can do a whole bunch of different diets and styles. If you can only eat certain things, they will cater that to you. They have high quality, nutritious food that you can stick to your gut friendly, high protein diet without spending hours planning, and meals come together in 15 minutes or less. Get 40% off your first box plus a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Use that code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Code LockedOnNBA for 40% off and a lifetime free item in your box for life at hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Locked On NBA Game Night. I just did both the squad shows right before this. Locked On NBA Game Night. We've got you covered every single game, every day in the NBA, all throughout the playoffs. So subscribe to this channel wherever you're listening, watching this. We'll be back. Great hosts all the time. Yesterday, Danny Cunningham and Kuka Hill killed it with 15 games on the slate. Absolutely awesome episode. You have to be listening to Game Night. Let's talk about the Suns. They fired Coach Mike Budenholzer. 3 coaches in 3 years are here and gone now for the Suns. Whose fault was it that the Suns season ended the way that it did? And I'm starting here for a reason, Camille, because I don't want to start with the coach. I want to start broad with the Suns. Whose fault was it? Did they fire the right guy?
Everybody's. It was everybody's fault in Phoenix. Because how are we looking? 4 coaches in 4 years is going to be the situation here for Phoenix. We heard that Bud has apparently lost the locker room, so some of that's going to be on him. But if it's a team that has gone through 3 different coaches in 3 consecutive years, there's also something going on in that locker room that needs to be addressed. I think it's a problem with the players in that locker room. There's a problem with the coaching, problem with the execs and the team that they put together. Everything is a problem in Phoenix, and I really can't even think of 3 teams at this point who would want to be in the situation of the Phoenix Suns, let alone the 26.
No, there's 26. 26 teams would trade everything they have. That's what Matt Ishiba said.
Not no more. Not no more. And it wasn't even that at the time when he said it. It's really not.
They barely won more games than that. They won 36 games this year.
It's tough. It's everyone's fault, in my opinion.
I'm with you because you look at this team, and I was high on this team coming into the season. You look at the amount of talent that they have on this team, and you go, all right, well, you've got, a Kevin Durant, a Devin Booker, 2 All-NBA level players. If you have 2 All-NBA players for the whole season, and they played a decent number of games, not all of them, but Booker played 75, Kevin Durant played 62. That's enough for you to make a play-in at least, or the playoffs, and they had them there. And the Mavericks, the team I cover, tried their darndest to let the Suns into that play-in just by losing all these games, so many injuries, all this. And the Suns just every game were just dropping these games they shouldn't have lost because they just had given up. And so that is just a cultural issue. Yeah. I'm with you. I think It starts with probably Devin Booker, because now he's maybe it starts with ownership now, but Devin Booker was there before. Starts with him, goes all the way down, and you've got to make some kind of change. Maybe it's bring in a vet alongside Booker. The last time they were successful was what? They had Chris Paul kind of leading the way and running the ship. Maybe Devin Booker is not the star that can be also the cultural guy too. Luka had like Dorian Finney-Smith, and he had Jalen Brunson, and he had Kyrie, and he has other guys that were, when he was on the Mavericks, that were the vocal, like, rah veteran leader. He may not be that guy, and that's I think a question that you make, and we'll see what they do with Kevin Durant. But it seems like they're going to move on from him.
Yeah, I think in part because they don't really have many options to make. Like, they're a second apron team. And when you are a second apron team, like, you are handcuffed into not being able to do a lot of things to try to improve your team. Like, you're just handicapped in that way. So trading Kevin Durant seems, as soon as the trade deadline passed this year and the rumors came about Kevin Durant being traded and Kevin was caught off guard, and I was like, this feels like this is getting ready to head towards a breakup in the offseason. Feels like the most likely way to go. If they were able to move off of Bradley Beal, like, that's probably one of the first places you would want to start, but no trade clause in that contract. So Beal is really in control of what happens next with his future. But when you're paying that much money to 3 players, and one of those 3 players was getting benched throughout the year on top of the fact, like, the lineup just doesn't work. I believe Devin Booker's played under like 7 different head coaches already in Phoenix. Like, the situation has not been sustainable. And I know Ishmael was praised for being aggressive, but sometimes aggressiveness is really just impulsiveness with like a little cover of confidence over it. And I think the impulsiveness is catching up to the Phoenix Suns at this point.
Oh, it's so true. The Suns don't have their pick. They have a decent chance at a top 4 pick. Their pick would be like 9th, but it goes to the Rockets now. They have 50% chance for it to be 9th. It goes to the Rockets. They're the only team in the NBA that is not in the lottery or the postseason in some kind of way.
It's crazy.
The only one there. They also, you talked about the second apron thing. They cannot aggregate contracts and trades. So they can't add more than one. So it has to be just Kevin Durant out for guys, or Bradley Beal out for guys or contracts or whatever. They can't combine any of them. They can't add anything else. It can't be, all right, let's do Grayson Allen plus this. No, you can't do that. You cannot trade multiple players in the same deal. So even if it's a 3-team trade, you can't trade like Kevin Durant one way, Grayson Allen somewhere else. You can't send out cash in trade. You can send trash in trades if you want. You can't send cash. Can't use trade exceptions from previous years. Can't trade first-round picks that are 7 years in the future. And so you're just still limited in what you can do right now as that second apron team. They are very stuck. If you're a Suns fan, how much change needs to happen in order for you to be happy?
That's a great question. And a question I also have for Suns fans is, where do you start? What is the cornerstone of this team going forward? Is Devin Booker like the guy that you believe can be the best guy on a championship team? Is that the way that the roster needs to be reconstructed around him? Like, you tried bringing in the other superstar. They were excited about Bradley Beal coming in, which, I'm completely honest, at the time, I did not quite understand the excitement levels around Bradley Beal joining that particular franchise with what they had going on. But like, who is your cornerstone? It feels like Devin Booker is the answer to that question. But is that going to be good enough, especially when you look around the West and see what else is going on here? Like, is it going to be enough? What is the next move that Phoenix has to make? And that's one of the things where I'm like, I'm going to be tuned in to Locked On Suns to try to get a better answer on that too, because like, when I'm looking at the problem, I'm like, I don't even know where I would begin. Like, at least in New Orleans, if I was the hypothetical GM, I'm looking at the injury report first.
Yeah.
Where do I start in Phoenix?
It's a culture. You got to bring in a culture setter. So no matter where that is, whether it's a best player, whether it's a coach, whether it's a GM, somebody has got to come in and set a culture because it needs to be set. Matt Ishbia, the owner, may think that he is the guy, but that has obviously not worked this season. You mentioned Devin Booker, 7 coaches. It's 7 if you count Jay Triano, who was an interim, but he coached for like 77. He's coached for 79 games one year. So I'm counting that. 7 coaches they've now gone through. At some point, you have to like lean to some kind of stability for this too, because if you just keep churning and changing, this is what happened to the Sacramento Kings. They just keep changing and churning, and then you just have no culture and nothing, and all of a sudden you're like, is Boogie Cousins a good basketball player? Like, yeah, he's a good basketball player, but there's just nothing built around him to succeed or do anything.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think that with the way the NBA is shifting, with the contracts players are getting and knowing that coaches are never going to be paid more than the players, do you think that the league is moving, I shouldn't say too much into like the player empowerment, but to a point where it's going to be hard for coaches to have that accountability in a locker room, because players see, like, if a change has to be made more times than not, the coach is going to be that first lever that's pulled before most of the player levers are pulled. So like just the balance of having coaches holding locker rooms accountable, which is what Phoenix thought they were going to be getting from Mike Budenholzer. And that did not pan out. I don't know. I wasn't in locker. I don't know if that's because of his personality type, if the guys just weren't responding to it. But even was like Denver and just hearing like guys got tired of hearing the voice. Like, how do you feel about like just where that balance is shifting?
I struggle with this for years because
I'm not playing. I'm watching, just like you guys.
You go, can Jason Kidd? He shows no fire. He shows no like energy on the sidelines when it comes to defending guys for technicals or fouls or things like that. He'll come to guys' defense. I'm not saying he doesn't do it at all, but there's just no. You see these coaches that just get impassioned and fiery and all this and like try and build up a team. The thing is a Jason Kidd screaming at a player going to motivate them more? These players are getting $40 million, or a Luka in wherever he is in a situation. Apparently that didn't work for him. And so I think it is getting very hard for a coach. But then we also have seen a Kenny Atkinson and a Jamie Bickerstaff come into these situations and completely change it because they came in and set the culture. Mm-hmm. Cleveland, he came in and set the culture. We're going to change this offense to be not just built around one player or one player plus whatever Evan Mobley can do. Plus, we're going to do this motion. We're going to change what this is. You've seen these coaches. I mean, Mazzulla changed the culture. I think from what Ime Udoka was doing to what he's doing now, and I think that opened up a lot. Ime Udoka with Houston. So I think these coaches, like, the question is not can coaches be effective and can they help come in and change things, but can they take a team from where they are, like from here, and like push them up to be better than what they are? I think it takes a change in some way. You have to come in and full scale change things. You can't just cater to two players individually. But that's a hard thing to try and like figure out from our vantage point, right? To try to figure out how they did this.
Truly.
Coming up, let's play Count It Up.
I have to apologize that you felt that he should have played more.
See, now you got Jason Kidd haunting me at this point. Haunting me through the speakers.
Hey, as the Bucks host, do you think he knew about the Luka trade?
Yes.
Coming up, let's play Count It Up. Count It Up, where we count on the most interesting, fun things in the NBA. Let's talk about the play-in tournament. How are you feeling about it? We'll talk about all that and more coming up. Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by Open Phone. If you are a small business owner, you've got all kinds of things that you're trying to do. You're trying to figure out what are the Suns doing. You're trying to figure out what the Bucks are going to do. You're trying to figure out what the Pelicans are going to do. All that kind of stuff. And you have to take care of your business as well. So you need Open Phone. It's the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications all through an app on your phone or computer. I love that I don't need to carry multiple phones with it. With Open Phone, you can manage business calls and text from one app, whether you're on the desk or to go, all that kind of stuff. You also have AI call transcripts and summaries to save you time on follow-ups and ensure that you never lose track of a single customer interaction. Open Phone is offering listeners of this show 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's Openphone, OPENPHONE.com/LockedOnNBA. If you're switching to another device, you're switching to another service, Open Phone will even port your existing numbers over at no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers.
Big chicken, baby. Zion Williamson and porn star.
Take that for that.
Count it up. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up.
It's Count It Up, where we count on the most interesting, fun things in the NBA. Let's talk about the play-in tournament. Camille, Mavs, Kings, Warriors, Grizzlies, Bulls, Heat, Magic, Hawks. Just the best amount of talent we've got in the NBA. Which play-in team has the best chance to win a next round?
Count it up.
Golden State Warriors, and that comes with the caveat. Like we did see in their last game here against the Clippers, we saw Jimmy Butler catch the knee with the quad, and he said he was all right. We've seen Steph Curry's hand wrapped up. We know he's playing through some injuries, but that's a talented Warriors team since they acquired Jimmy Butler, and they fit really well together. So of all the different play-in teams, all 8 of them, it is that Golden State Warriors team to me where I'm like, if they can get out the play-in, that's a team that can make some noise in the playoffs.
I'm not picking any of the East teams.
No, absolutely not.
No chance, right? There's just nothing.
But I will say, I do hope that if the Magic get out, they can at least beat up whoever it is in that first round series long enough to kind of, soften the blow for future teams that might come along down the way,
No 10 seed has ever made the playoffs, so I'm not picking the Mavericks. I'm not doing the homer thing. I think it is the Warriors. I think you're right, because they would play the Rockets, who are, say what you want about the Rockets, they are the weakest of the teams that these teams in the play-in would face, between the Thunder, the Cavs, and the Celtics, right? So it's got to be one of the Warriors or Grizzlies, and I think the Warriors has the best chance there. Listen to Locked On NBA Squad Show West on any West team feed or this one right here. We talked a lot about the Rockets and the Warriors matchup between Jax Gallen and Charlie Walter. So go check out that. Which game are you most excited to watch of these four?
Count it up.
I feel like my first answer kind of hinted towards the fact I would say Warriors, Grizzlies, like they have some history here. They met in the play-in before. They had the playoff series the very next year, and that got real chippy. Got to talk about the codes and whatnot between them. So Warriors, Grizzlies is that game I would definitely pick. And I don't even really have a close second, I guess, out of just like if I had to pick like an Eastern Conference matchup. See how difficult this is, Nick? I don't even have it.
I would pick the Bulls in the East. I would pick the Bulls just because they've been super fun to watch. Kobe White, Josh Giddey doing things. You got the Bulls have had the Heat's number the last couple of months of the season, and so maybe that. You're not looking forward to the mid-range off between Anthony Davis, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan dominating in the paint for the Mavericks, the mid-range for the Kings. You're not looking forward to that game?
I'm looking forward to a little bit of the mid-rangeness of it all. I am a mid-range.
You are not.
Stand.
Stop.
I am a mid-range stand. If you're going to sell me on a game, Nick, that's how you do it. Me personally, point to the mid-range girls in that game. But really quick question: do you really think the Mavericks can they beat the Kings here? And
yeah, sure. Because we don't know what the Mavericks
road wins.
Can they beat like the Warriors or Grizzlies? I would not pick the Mavericks. But we don't know what this Mavericks team is. PJ Washington. Yeah. Anthony Davis and Derek Lively have played 2 games together. One of them was against the Lakers. And that game, whatever you want to chalk that game up to being. But we just don't know what this team is on any given night. And so can they win a game? Sure, because they can dominate in the paint. They're going to win the rebound battle if you got Anthony Davis and you got Lively and you've got Gafford and PJ and all that. All right, yeah, they'd have some advantages. I've watched this team every single game. Mm-hmm. I know I cover this team every day. I don't know what this team will look like. We just haven't seen it. They've rested guys. They've had so many injuries and things. I don't think they're ready for a game like this. This is my take now going into it. And there hasn't been enough time to see these guys together. But that could also be a positive where how do you game plan against a team that you just don't know how they're going to operate, right? Like you just don't know. They've got a couple things working against them though. Anthony Davis is 4-10 against Sabonis over the last 5 years. Yeah. Now he went 3-0 this year with the Lakers, so I guess we have 4-0 with the Lakers against Sabonis this year. Klay Thompson last year in a playing game in Golden One Center went over 10 from 3. So it's like, who will be able to exercise their demons? If the Mavericks can exercise those demons from past teams, come together and beat a Kings team. The Kings are also awful defensively. When the trio plays, when it's Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Sabonis all playing together, their half-court defense is 106.9, which is 4.5 points worse than the Phoenix Suns as a team who were last in the NBA this season. So they have a worse half-court defense than the worst one in the NBA. So there's a chance for the Mavericks for sure. I just don't think that they're ready, and so that's what I would go to with that.
Yeah, it's an interestingly built team because with the injury like Kyrie, it feels like the guard play is a little lacking for the Mavericks and you're really leaning on your front court. And that's not a combination you tend to see too often of like the guard play is not what you're here for. It's all about that front court here. So it's just going to be interesting to see how that shakes out for them.
Disagree. I'm here for the Spencer Dinwiddie drive. The Mavs, this is where the Mavs are right now, Camille. Brandon Williams, who started off as a 2-way and has improved a lot this season and has got a contract. They just signed him. Great. Mm-hmm. He went down with an oblique injury in the last game of the season. And I was like, oh no, this hurts the Mavs chances in a play-in game. Is that a good sign for a team if your 15th man goes down and you're like, oh no, this is bad for our play-in chances?
Not a great sign, but a great summary of the season. A great summary of the season.
Down bad. We're down bad. Dallas basketball. Paige Becker, save my Dallas basketball's life. Oh
the only hope for Dallas right now.
That's the hope we have. Go check out all the great teams we have. We have a show covering every single one of these play-in teams. We also have the squad shows coming out. We talked all playoffs. Great stuff on there. Camille and I were on the East one. I was on the West one. Go check that out, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA Game Night. Also, we have a newsletter for every single one of your teams. LockedOnDaily.com to find the newsletter that covers your favorite team every day, all throughout the offseason. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA Game